Most people call me Big Dick.
Wrong side of the road.
Do you like movies where people get their ass kicked? Well, then I have just the movie for you. We're going to go over 2024 Roadhouse, directed by Doug Liman, starring Jake Gyllenhaal, Daniela Melchior, and Conor McGregor. Yo, hello everyone, how you doing? Welcome back to the Film Archives, where I break down movies. I upload 1 to 2 times a week, so be sure to hit the subscribe button for more. But without further ado, let's just get into the movie so we can answer the question, was it worth watching? This movie starts off with one of the greatest actors of all time. We have a scene of Post Malone. Yes, that Post Malone. You know, he's fighting. He's unloading his cannons in the underground UFC bare knuckle tournament. And it's super badass. In the crowd, we have a woman. Her name is Frankie. She's kind of, scouting out the fighters and, seeing who she can hire. We learn that this is the owner and operator of the Roadhouse, which is why she's there to find, like a new bouncer.
This can't be. I'm a bouncer. I make a living putting my life on the line.
In walks Jake Gyllenhaal's character. His name's Dalton Elwood, and suddenly Post Malone, he ain't having it. He's like, I'm throwing in the towel. I'm not fighting that guy. You guys, I quit. I lose. And so he loses by default.
You lose. You get nothing.
This is kind of foreshadowing how badass Dalton really is, So Dalton takes the money and he's beginning to leave. He's returning back to his car, where we see Dalton get ambushed and stabbed. It's really brutal stuff, but he doesn't feel anything. So I guess he's just super tough because pain doesn't affect him at all. And the guy leaves, he's like, oh man, I don't want no part of this. Stabbing you had no effect. I don't want to get, a can of whoop ass unloaded on me. Then Frankie approaches Dalton and she offers him $5,000 a week for a month to start, to be a bouncer at the Roadhouse because she's been having some real trouble with some ruffians lately. Dalton disagrees. He's like, no, you wanted the other guy. I'm not the guy for the job, He thinks very lowly of himself. Frankie goes, well, if you change your mind, I'll leave you my phone number and you can give me a call. Then we have a scene where Dalton is driving at night, kind of just reflecting on his life and contemplating it. Typical things you do when you drive at night. Think of your ex-wife and stuff like that. He drives over a train track and he's like, you know what, maybe this is the moment. Maybe I should just end it all, like unalive myself right here. And lo and behold, he changes his mind, and once the train starts coming, he's like, no, I don't want to do this actually. This is really scary. And the train hits the back of his car and he's completely uninjured. But at this point, he needs a new car. So he has to call Frankie and, tell her, I'll take the job for $5,000 a week. So he gets on a bus and he goes up to Florida Glass Key. And the bus stops right outside this cool little bookshop where he meets a nice young girl named Charlie and her dad named Steven. He asks for directions to the Roadhouse because, he just arrived in the Glass Key and, they kind of are really nice working folks. So, they give him some free books and send him on his way and give him his directions to the Roadhouse. So we finally get Dalton arriving at the Roadhouse, and I've been playing a ton of Red Dead Redemption 2. Got some real saloon vibes to it. You got the live band and, you got the liquor flowing. People are enjoying their libations. It's good stuff. Everybody's kind of having a good time, and we are introduced to some of the minor characters. In walks the bikers, and these guys mean business. They're trouble. As soon as they walk in, everybody gets kind of quiet and they stop having fun. And they come in and they just start trashing stuff. They take this guy's glass and they throw it on the ground. They go over to the guy playing pool and they say, you know what? It's our turn now. You've had enough, buddy. And they just break the pool cues. They don't even actually play pool, which is just so stupid. It's pretty funny. And so Dalton at this point, Jake Gyllenhaal, he's had enough. He goes over there and he's like, can I help you guys? How about we go outside and we talk? They all follow him outside. And Dalton just starts slap boxing the living shit out of everybody. He starts slapping this guy, he's slapping that guy. Anyway, Dalton beats them all up. And then, he's a nice guy and he takes him to the hospital to get fixed up. At the hospital, he meets his love interest, who's played by Daniela Melchior. Her name is Ellie, which is a great name because it's my dog's name. She kind of walks over to him, gives him a little bit of sass, and she's like, thanks for making my night so busy. And, she kind of like offers to fix up his knife wound from the earlier night. And, they have a little moment. It's pretty romantic stuff. So Dalton goes back to the Roadhouse, and he asks about a houseboat that he saw on the marina on his way in. And wouldn't you know it, the owner of the Roadhouse, Frankie, she also owns the boat. So she's like, yeah, you can stay at the houseboat, no problem, Dalton. And just be careful of the crocodile that lives in the bay there, because this is Florida.
You best watch out for that damn croc.
So he goes to sleep, and we get a little flashback of his time in the UFC. And we kind of see a foreshadowing of him just being a notorious certified badass, He's like the middleweight champion of the world. Pretty impressive stuff. So then the bartender comes to his house at the houseboat, thanking him for last night with helping him with all the bikers. She brings him some food and all that, and kind of explains that this is a small island, so now everybody knows you, Dalton. And then we get a scene of all the thugs on a boat. They're also on a boat, and they're talking to their big boss. And the big boss is super cool. He's getting an Old West shave with a straight razor on a boat, so he just doesn't care if his throat gets cut. He's super hardcore like that. And he's asking him, what happened? I sent you there last night to trash the place and kind of destroy it.
Tell me about this bouncer. I don't know, man. He's it's kind of strange. He's all nice and like he's Mr. Rogers or something, but then, man, he hauls off. He hauls off. He beats the living out of you. So really interesting guy overall.
The boss isn't happy about this. He basically tells them to go get the job done. We go back to the Roadhouse where Dalton is, and he's taking one of the young bucks. His name's Billy. He's taking him under his wing, kind of showing him how to bounce people out of there as well, just to kind of help him. And then he also hires another guy that he saw outside that was like a boxer, because he saw like a bunch of scars on his knuckles, so he hires that guy too. I don't know why he hires them, but he does. I didn't know he was allowed to do that either, but I guess he is. Here we get a little montage of them bouncing people out of the bar. And then after that, we see Dalton walking home. And suddenly a truck out of nowhere tries to run him over. And it's one of the thugs that he put in the hospital from earlier. He's now back, and he tried to run him over and kill him. But luckily, Dalton, kind of jumps into the bed of the truck instead, and he winds up getting pushed off the side of the highway, and he falls into the ocean. It's super brutal stuff, honestly. But Dalton manages to swim home and make it home, where as soon as he walks in, he finds the guy, the thug that was driving the truck, is now waiting for him. He knew where he lived, so he's waiting there with a gun, and he's going to shoot him and kill him. It's super brutal. So then Dalton's like, I'm just one guy. Why do you guys want to hurt me so much, And the thug's like, it's not you, it's the Roadhouse. We got orders from our boss to tear this place down, And they kind of have a scuffle, and Dalton manages to get the gun away from him. The thug falls overboard, and it's really bad because there's a crocodile in there who, lo and behold, he comes up and eats him. It's super brutal stuff, actually. But after that, get some more boat dreams of him in the UFC. It's pretty cool stuff. Then after that, we also see Dalton eating lunch at like a local spot nearby where he runs into Ellie, and they kind of flirt, have a little moment, and Ellie kind of runs him down on the Glass Key of Florida. She's like, this is a really dangerous place. There's a lot of old families that live here with old money, and they basically own the town, And this is where we learn that Ben Brandt is the main guy, So Dalton goes to the bookstore, where he wants to find some more information on these old Florida families in the Glass Key, and he is ambushed by a couple more thugs, and they show him that they've got a gun and they want to talk to him. So, they kind of intimidate him, and Dalton ain't intimidated. He don't care. He's like, bro, you got a gun? I don't care. I'll just break your hand, and then you won't even be able to hold the gun because your freaking bones will be broken. How do you like that, guy? And the guy's like, sure, man, I'm going to pull out the gun anyway. And lo and behold, so then Dalton's like, I told you, man, I'm going to break your hand. So he breaks his fingers, and the guy starts crying in pain. And he's like, yeah, well, I'm out of here. Tell your boss I don't care. And he knows where to find me. So then we see Ben again. He's on a boat. As usual, he's chilling out there on the yacht, and his dad is calling him from jail, and we'll find out why his dad's in jail a little bit later, but he doesn't want to take the call, so he just takes his phone and chucks it into the ocean and ignores him. So then his dad, sensing trouble, is like, what, I gotta hire, my fixer. And he gives a call to Conor McGregor. His character's name's Knox, and he's in Italy currently, but he gives him a call and is like, hey, my son is screwing things up in the Glass Key in Florida. Can you go out there and help him, fix it? Basically destroy the Roadhouse, so that way Ben can, open up a nice resort there for rich people, but The one building they don't own is the Roadhouse, and Frankie's just refusing to sell it and refusing to leave. So their best decision is to destroy it, and that's why they keep having the thugs there. I guess they could have just lit it on fire, or like waited till it closed down and then just destroyed it. I don't know. So then we get a scene of Dalton and Ellie. They go on a little date. It's pretty romantic stuff. And then Ellie kind of just reiterates that Ben Brand, the guy that wants to see him, pretty much owns all of the Glass Key because his father pretty much built it up from the ground up. They basically built it as a drug smuggling front, like the whole city, though. That's also why Ben's dad is in jail. Then we have a really funny scene at like an hour in where Conor is just like a literal cartoon. He's pretty awesome at the same time. I don't know, but he comes in, and he's coming in hot. He shows up to the house where all the thugs are kind of chilling. And he's like, "This is my place now. I'm taking the master bedroom. I'm eating all your sandwiches, and I'll do what I want out here." He's either like a really good actor or a terrible actor. I don't know how I feel about it, but let me know what you think in the comments below, how you feel about Conor McGregor's acting. But anyway, Ben isn't happy about all this. He's telling him he's taking care of it, and Knox, Conor McGregor's like, "Nah, you're not taking care of it. That's why your dad called me. It's not good." So then we get a scene of some thugs going to the bookstore, and they're going to trash the place because they know Dalton is friends with the little kid there, which is just super screwed up, you know what I mean? But then the Popo are coming to pick up Dalton because they have some questions for him regarding, the missing body that was eaten by the crocodile. So, they pick him up and they take him into the car. And this is where we're introduced to Ellie's dad, who's the chief of police.
Most people call me Big Dick.
They have a brief conversation, and at the end of it, he basically threatens Dalton. He tells him to get out of town or he can kill him, At the last second, Ellie shows up, though. She arrives and she kind of saves the day. She saves him from getting shot in the face. So, there's that. We see Dalton, he's at the bar. He's working, and Ben shows up and he shows him a little video of him just going berserk haywire in the old UFC, and, kind of taunts him with the video. So yeah, Knox goes in there and, he starts going ape shit, he's just literal berserk mode and starts destroying everything and trashing the place and stealing this guy's girlfriend. And then, he starts calling Dalton's name, and eventually Dalton comes out and, they kind of have a showdown. They fight, and Knox kind of gets the better of him. There's a pretty cool scene here where even though Jake Gyllenhaal is just getting punched in the face repeatedly, he's just like staring at Knox, and it's like, "I'm gonna get you, bro. Just wait." It's pretty good stuff, honestly. It's pretty good. It's pure dick and balls, but it's pretty freaking cool. So then Dalton goes back home, and he's like, "You know what? I don't want to deal with this because I know it's going to happen. If I continue down this path, I'm going to lose my cool, and it's going to be brutal. I'm going to lose it, and I'm going to wind up killing people, So yeah, we go back to Ben. He's kind of going over his plans that he wants to build the resort and destroy Frankie's little roadhouse. They tell Ben that Knox wasn't able to kill the bouncer because the cops showed up, kind of stopped everything. Dalton, he doesn't want no part of this because he knows what happens when he gets pushed too far. He starts murdering people. But he sees that they've trashed the bookstore, and that unleashes that dog, So Dalton, who is super pissed off at this point, goes to Ben Brand's house where all the thugs gather. We're not really sure how he knows where this is, but he does. So he confronts the guy who burned down the bookstore, and he's demanding retribution, and he's demanding to know where Ben is. And of course the guy doesn't want to cooperate. So they get into, confrontation, and Dalton winds up just punching him in his throat, and he breaks his windpipe, and then the guy falls into the pool and he drowns. And Dalton commits a murder at this point, so it's pretty brutal stuff, we'll say. So then he sees the other guy there, and he asks if he knows where Ben is, and, the guy doesn't want to fight Dalton, so he just kind of cooperates, and he's like, "Yo, I don't know where Ben is, but I do know where they're having a meeting. It's very important. I can tell you where that's taking place." So then Dalton heads over to the meeting, and it's actually one of the corrupt cops that works for Ellie's dad, and he's smuggling in money for Ben's operation, and Dalton knocks him out, and he takes all the money for himself. Then we have Ellie's dad approach Dalton, and he kind of lets him know that Ben has kidnapped Ellie because he stole all the money, so he needs to return it. So Dalton heads over to where Ellie's dad, Big D, and Ben are chilling on the yacht, and he's kind of like, "Hey, I brought the money. Can you guys let Ellie go?" They refuse to do so. much to the chagrin of Ellie's dad, because he didn't think that he was going to do that. But, you know, Ben double-crossed him. Luckily, Dalton had already rigged the boat that he came in on with explosions, so he sets it off to explode, and he kind of uses this distraction to head down below and save Ellie. So they're all leaving, you know, the boat because it's now sinking, and Ellie and Dalton are in the water swimming. And suddenly Conor McGregor, Knox, he knew where they were, so he's heading over there on a speeder boat, and he tries to run him over. Dalton says, you know, Ellie, just get out of here. So Ellie climbs onto a boat, which she thought was safe, but as soon as she gets up, she sees that Ben's just on there. So now she's kind of being held captive again. So Conor McGregor continuously tries to run over Dalton, but luckily Dalton grabs onto the side of the speeder boat and just kind of climbs up. They have a small little scuffle, and Dalton winds up throwing Conor McGregor into the ocean, and, you know, he kind of takes control of the speeder boat, and he heads over to the boat where Ben is now escaping on, and, you know, he kind of jumps on board and saves Ellie again. He briefly fights with Ben, and, you know, as they're fighting, they both kind of forget to steer the boat, so it winds up crashing into the nearby shore and the Roadhouse, unfortunately. Dalton and Ellie manage to jump off right before the crash, but Ben stays on, and, you know, he gets flung like 100 feet onto the roof of the Roadhouse. Pretty brutal stuff. At this point, Conor McGregor has climbed up onto the nearby highway, and he's pulling a GTA move where he stops one of the nearby trucks to steal it. He just puts his hand out in front of it, and he's like, stop. So then he steals the truck, and then he heads over to the Roadhouse to kind of finish his business. We then see Dalton kind of fighting Ben, because Ben is in the Roadhouse and he's trying to escape. But Dalton's not having any of it. You know, he wants his final, he wants to teach him his final lesson, you know, for ruining the town and burning his friend's bookstores and stuff like that. Right as he's about to finish him, Conor McGregor crashes the truck into the building, causing further damage to the Roadhouse and nearly hitting Dalton in the process. It's at this point they have their final showdown, and they fight for like a good 5 to 10 minutes. Pretty good fight scene, honestly. They have some pretty cool moments, but, you know, Dalton, he winds up getting Knox, Conor McGregor, into like a chokehold. So Conor McGregor grabs like a nearby splinter of wood and stabs him. It's really brutal, you know, kind of stunning Dalton. And at this point, you know, Ben kind of walks over and is like, Knox, finish him off, yeah. And Knox has just had enough of him. He's like, what does it take to shut you up, you know, and just kind of snaps his neck right there on the spot. I don't know why he killed Ben. He just did. I guess he's completely unhinged, to be honest. So Dalton gets back up, you know, and he's going to go fight Conor one more time. And, you know, he just grabs the piece of wood out of the side of his stomach and stabs the heck out of Knox with it. It's really brutal. And he winds up killing Knox, you know. It's pretty sad, but it's not that sad because he's a pretty bad guy, you know. That's kind of the conclusion there, you know, and Ellie's dad shows up and she's like, yo, you gotta go, you gotta leave town because you just committed a murder, but you saved my daughter, so I will cover for you, so just get out of town tonight. So then we see Dalton kind of say his final goodbyes to, you know, Ellie, and, you know, he says his final goodbye to Charlie and her dad. And Charlie and her dad, you know, they walk back into their burnt down bookstore, and they see, you know, Dalton has left his case in there, and they open it up, and it's all the money that he stole. He actually just left it at the bookstore for those guys, which I thought was a super nice little touch, you know. And that's the end of the movie. All in all, was this movie worth watching? I would say yes, especially if you're not comparing it to the original Roadhouse. It was a really good movie. It was super enjoyable, had some pretty good action parts, some really funny dialogue at moments, and overall it was pretty enjoyable. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to like the video if you like what you've seen, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. But until next time, guys, I will see you in the next video. Peace!